Hi, Bolavis. Welcome to Community Living. My name is Malebun Kosi, and thank you for everyone that has subscribed so far. If you are new to the channel, please remember to subscribe and also press the notification bell so that you are notified whenever we release videos. So we try to release videos at least once a week. If you're not part of the notification gang, you should prepare to get a video every Sunday by 4 p.m., right? So today's episode we'll be covering emergency funds. So I did a quick Twitter poll and a LinkedIn poll as well, just to find out what do you guys want me to cover in this episode. So it was between two topics. The first one was the get to know me, the financial version of course, not the spicy one that you guys are expecting, but it can still be spicy. You know, finance is a bit of a taboo as well, so discussing it and getting to know me a bit more when it comes to what exactly I do with my finances, how I run my financial planning and all those things would be quite interesting, I think. But anywho, the topic that won is emergency funds, hence we're covering it in today's episode. So I hope you're going to enjoy the episode and you might learn a couple of new tricks. And apologies for the background noise. I am back home. You know, I'm not even going to get into that. Maybe in one of the episodes I'll cover why I'm back home. But yeah, there's a lot of background noise. Everybody's going about their business, and if you're from a township, you know the houses are close to each other, so you're probably hearing my neighbor and my neighbor's neighbor and my family as well, whatever. But we're not gonna get into that, and I hope you guys can still hear me, right? So as I've said, today's episode is about emergency funds, right? So we are going to get right into it. The first thing is, what exactly is an emergency fund? So for someone who's not aware of this term emergency fund, so it's a very popular fund in terms of the financial world or financial gurus and financial experts. So it's very much advised that every single person that is about to start on their financial journey and having a healthy relationship with their finance should actually have an emergency fund. So that will be your very first savings account that you open. The reason I'm saying savings account is very important, not an investment account, but a savings account, right? So you come to understand why I'm saying the very first savings account that you're going to open. So I'm just going to try and dissect the whole emergency and the fund and how it all comes together, right? So as we all know, an emergency is an unplanned, unforeseen circumstance, and it can happen at any point. And in terms of like it being an emergency fund, it just means that it will lead to like some kind of financial implication, right? So basically an emergency fund helps you to manage like unforeseen risks. You can actually determine like the category of the risk that you are trying to like mitigate, right? So that's what an emergency fund will be like employed for, right? So another thing about an emergency fund is that like most financial gurus and financial experts usually advise that you save 3 to 6 months of either your expenses, right? And with your expenses, you would have to like obviously go a bit into details regarding what are your expenses, right? What are your monthly expenses? Most people think that expenses is equivalent to their salaries, but that shouldn't be the case. We know that should probably be like maybe 50%, 30%, depending on what are the things that you spend money on, right? And then another thing would be the second criteria that most financial gurus will say is that 3 to 6 months worth of your salary. So that's the most straightforward one. It's easy to like calculate that one. If you're earning, let's just say plus minus 25k, it's just 25 times 3, right? And then you will get to your emergency fund like lump sum, right? The amount of money that you need to save up for in order to be able to mitigate most of your risk. But I'd say that as much as that is an acceptable, like, you know, way of starting in your emergency fund journey or starting with your savings journey, later on you'd have to obviously go into the intricacy of what exactly are you saving up for in your emergency fund, right? It's good and all to have this emergency fund, having this 3 to 6 months worth of your salary, but it is better to actually understand exactly what are the type of risk that you foresee and how you're covering them within that emergency fund, right? For example, if you have a car, you know that, okay, for one, maybe you have car insurance. Your car insurance covers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but it doesn't cover maybe things like your tire bursting and you needing to either patch or replace your tires. That will be something that you put for your emergency fund, right? That'll be maybe like if all your tires for some reason burst and your backup tire or your spare wheel is like you can't use it as well for whatever reason. So you're planning for the very worst case scenario with your emergency fund. So that's probably you having to replace 5 tires. Let's just say for like calculation sake, that is like plus minus 1,000 for the tire that you have to buy. So that's 5K that you have to fork out in that case of an emergency, you know. So do you have that 5K readily available? Where is it coming from? That's what your emergency fund is basically for, those scenarios or those circumstances that are most of the time not insured, right? And another thing that you must be wary of is actually over insuring some of these things or over compensating with your emergency fund. As I've said, that the 3 to 6 months might be acceptable when you start, but as you go about your business and your financial journey and you progress and you understand like your financial goals, maybe you will come to see that, okay, maybe I just need like 2 months worth of my salary because it covers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is covered by the insurance, it's covered by this, it's covered by that, it's covered by that. Because at the end of the day, you don't want a lot of your money being in a preservation account. So a preservation account will be what you utilize for an emergency fund, right? And like the reason why we use a preservation fund is that, one, you need an account that offers you liquidity, that offers you like accessibility, and that is very flexible. So an account maybe where you can instantly access your money, or you can give maybe a specific notice, but that notice you should have a countermeasure for it. I mean, in that countermeasure that I just mentioned right now is that if you have like a 32 days notice account, obviously if you can't get your money immediately, you need maybe like a credit card to use it in the interim to cover like that emergency. And you know that within the 32 days you are going to receive your money and you'll pay off the credit card within the 55 days. So another reason that you actually have an emergency fund is so that you never go into debt whenever you have an emergency, because obviously you need to attend to the emergency, but you don't want the added stress as a result of having to take out additional credit. The credit can be as big as 500, like maybe 500,000, for example. You know, we don't know what that emergency could be. But if you already have some amount that is stashed away to say, if anything comes about, I at least have X amount of money to cover this. If I lose my job and maybe I don't have an income protection, I can cover like my expenses, my family expenses. I can cover whatever it is that you want to cover for maybe the next 6 to 12 months, right? As you like get up on your feet to like, you know, fix all these topics that you're probably facing in your financial journey. So that's basically the gist of an emergency fund, right? And as I've said, I hope you're going to learn something new from this episode. If you have any questions regarding an emergency fund, have like an emergency fund that you've set up, please comment down below with like your emergency fund, how much you're saving, where exactly maybe you're saving it, and what has worked well in your journey, right? So I have an emergency fund with like one has I'm saving it up in a 32 days account with Netbank, and then the other one was with Time Bank. But I've actually took some money from my emergency fund because, hey, we're experiencing a pandemic, baba. So ziyabuya financially for everyone, and ziyabuya in every aspect. My goal for the year was to have 1 month worth of my salary, right? But then I've revised that goal to actually say I want to have 2 months worth of my salary by the end of the year. So that is basically how I'm going about setting up my emergency fund, and it's mostly for medical purposes, right? Because I don't have a medical aid. And yes, I know it's a bit dangerous to not have a medical aid, but I also have my reservations regarding having too many risk management tools or risk management products that actually don't insure you for everything at this point in time. Anyways, I hope you enjoy the episode and I hope you've learned something. So thank you.